It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Broadcasting from coast to coast.
City to city, coast to coast.
It's time for the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If it's happening in sports, it's being talked about right here. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Good Monday morning and welcome into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It is the Ryan Hickey Show with you right here for the next 2 hours until 11 a.m. Eastern, as we are every Monday, every Thursday. Welcome in. We appreciate you starting your week with us right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Hopefully the weekend was enjoyable, relaxing, fun, exciting. And hopefully at least you're not dreading going back to the work week. But if so, hopefully for at least the next 2 hours, we're here to make the transition from weekend to weekday a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit more easier. As a reminder, we're coming to you live as we always are from the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios, whether it's great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners. Check out Big Italy Pizzeria in person in Medford, Joe's Pizzeria in Bayshore, or online wherever you are at BigItalyPizza.com. A very jam-packed show here for the next 2 hours. A lot to get into. A very exciting sports weekend. Last weekend, you had the Final Four. Now it's exciting this weekend. You have the Masters. A lot of excitement, a lot of baseball going on. It was a good weekend. And in doing so, we have a lot to react to. 15 minutes from now, I think it's time, folks. Technology has made our lives super simple, super easy. Right? We would be lost if it wasn't for all this technology here that, at least on a daily basis, helps make our lives a little bit easier, helps make our lives, easier is the right word. But there's something now, when it comes to technology and sports, it's time to go. I've had enough. 2 examples just this past week, one last night, in case you missed it, in the Phillies-Braves game. We'll get to that in 15 minutes or so. It's time for replay in sports to go. See you later. Hit the road. Don't come back. I'll explain why that is in 15 minutes or so. 9:40. Something is happening in the NBA for the first time in a long time. We actually have a P word that's going on in basketball. Parity. I'll explain why that is in 9:40. Top of the second hour. We are just, 2.5 weeks away from the NFL draft. I love the draft. It's going to be a lot of, a fun time, exciting time, a lot of question marks, a lot of storylines to follow here in the next few rounds of the draft. There's one thing, though, that we do on a yearly basis without fail. Every single year. You're guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. And I'm here just to throw a reminder when it comes to the draft, especially when it comes to quarterbacks in the draft. We got to pump the brakes. I'll tell you what I'm talking about here. 10 a.m. Eastern. Speaking of which, we're going to have 5, maybe 6, depending on what you read, quarterbacks taken in the first round. Which head coaches do you trust the most to get the most out of the young quarterback? I give you the top 5 head coaches I trust the most to develop young quarterbacks. We'll do that at 10:20 Eastern. We'll get your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio. Or at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well if you want to get in on the conversation. But I do want to start with at least the biggest story of the weekend, the biggest story of the day. That is Hideki Matsuyama winning the Masters. Congratulations to Hideki. Up and down 4th round. Really was able to prevail. He did lead, though, all of Sunday, never gave it up, came in with a 4-shot lead, left with a 1-stroke victory. And he becomes the first Japanese male player, to win a major tournament and thus obviously winning the Masters. And it was this. I want to give Matsuyama a lot of credit here because at least watching, especially yesterday, now that he, had a great Saturday, took over the lead heading into the final day on Sunday there. The most impressive part, at least for me, watching Matsuyama play, watching him get the victory, was his mental strength. It was all mental. Because even though he had a 4-stroke lead heading into the final round, we know, especially when you watch the Masters, there is always pressure. And the guys that can't handle it, even when you have a decent lead, they end up choking, they end up faltering, and then someone else wins. It really, the Masters, more than any other major, I want to say, really tests your mental strength. And for those that are mentally strong, prevail. like Matsuyama and others, unfortunately falter and meltdown, and we remember those classic meltdowns. But again, even though he had a 4-stroke lead going into Sunday, he still had every reason to panic. He still had every reason to collapse, melt down, and he never did. He never did. Think about the pressure that was on Hickey entering round number 4, right? This is a player. He's never won a major, so he's never known what it's like on the biggest stage on Sunday to get the job done in a major tournament. Forget just playing for yourself, which obviously, you like to win every tournament you're playing. Think about it. Because, like I just mentioned before, he's the first Japanese male to win a major and win the Masters. I mean, he is essentially, whether he wants to believe it or not, playing for his entire country. And the entire broadcast on Sunday, you heard them playing the Tokyo broadcast, and it's like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. over there. People are still watching. They're still listening because they realize the importance of the moment here to watch a fellow countryman make history at the Masters. So he's playing for an entire country. Could you imagine that pressure? Forget playing for yourself. And I thought Max Homa had a great tweet after Matsuyama won. He goes, I feel a lot of pressure just playing for my family. Couldn't imagine trying to play for an entire country of people. So he had that pressure on his shoulders. And like we just talked about too, the Masters more than any other major really tests the mental strength. And that alone, that pressure alone, really takes on a life of its own. You heard it, leading into the broadcast, leading into Matsuyama teeing off on 1. Then you hear it again on the back 9, talk about this is really where the Masters starts. This is where we see guys either make it or break it. And for Hideki Matsuyama, he made it. Because even just recently, in recent memory, at Francisco Molinari, back when Tiger won in 2019, he had a meltdown on the back 9. Jordan Spieth, remember, on 12 a few years ago, had that epic meltdown. We've seen it in front of our eyes. Guys with strong leads that are playing well, that then they kind of realize maybe the importance of the moment. They realize what they're on the cusp of, and that overwhelms them and takes them down. And Matsuyama, I give him a lot of credit, never got taken down. And he had, again, every reason to think about it. Again, 4-shot lead, pretty comfortable. Well, think about it. The first shot of the day on Sunday, first shot, very first shot on the first tee of the first hole of the final round. He puts it in the trees in the pine straw and 1. I mean, you talk about what kind of day you're about to have here. You think, all right, we're going to stripe it down the fairway here. We're going to get going. We're going to get off to a good start. First drive, you're in the trees. End up making bogey on that hole. Next thing you know, you go from a 4-shot lead, all of a sudden now, because you had Will Zalatoris birdie the first 2 holes, you go from a 4-shot lead entering the final round to now, after just the first hole, it's down to 1. Down to 1, just like that. You see how quickly the tide can change. And he showed incredible poise, because again, those moments now when you start looking at the leaderboard, when you hear the crowd roar 2 or 3 holes ahead of you and you realize, oh, someone's making a move here, it's easy to get overwhelmed by the moment. And even for Matsuyama, as we saw yesterday, the entire round he's scrambling. He's in the trees, he's in the bunker, he's in the second cut. It was never just hit it down the middle of the fairway, make your second shot, putt, and move on. He was all over the golf course. And I'm sure me and you can both relate to that. Because guess what? Me and you, when we play golf, have been all over the golf course. I know what it's like to be hitting from the trees. I know what it's like to be hitting from the bunker. Not fun. Not how you imagine your round going. Not how you imagine trying to win the Masters tournament by putting him in the trees, going left, going right. But he was able, again, the entire week, scramble, stay composed, stay poised. Which to me is impressive because, again, we've seen it so many times the opposite happen, where 1 or 2 shots derail a player. And next thing you know, you put it in the trees or you put it in the bunker. You hear the crowd, you feel the pressure. It's just downhill from there. So even after the first hole, when you go from a 4-shot lead to a 1-shot lead, in the matter of 15 minutes of being on the course, bounce back. Even now, entering the back 9, 8 holes to go, he's up by 6. And even then, when we all thought it was over, we all thought Hideki's going to cruise in the last few holes, not a lot of drama. What happened? As we know, because it wasn't never going to be that easy, Xander Schauffele all of a sudden gets hot, rips off a few birdies in a row. And next thing you know, we get to 15, and Matsuyama puts one in the water. And again, if that is 85% of golfers out there, If that's me and you, forget it. The round is over. The day is over. But could you imagine? You have this comfortable lead. All of a sudden, next thing you know, you put the ball in the water. And now you're looking at a possibility of unraveling, getting desperate. Because that's another thing, too. You can still try to chase shots. Matsuyama puts one in the water, takes his medicine, doesn't try to go for it all, takes the bogey, and next thing you know, from 15 to 16, Xander Schauffele puts in the water, and really that's the tournament. But we saw on different stages, either on Sunday or even leading into Sunday, the pressure getting to players. I mean, again, Xander Schauffele just finally gets back into the tournament, puts one in the water. Justin Rose, really good Friday, really good Saturday round until the rain came. Unraveled late Saturday. Justin Thomas, same thing. There was plenty of opportunities. There was plenty of moments for Hideki Matsuyama all weekend long, but especially on Sunday, to unravel, to melt down, and be put in the history books with Francisco Molinari, with Jordan Spieth, with Greg Norman, for those with big leads that choked it away. But instead, he put himself in the history books for another reason. For becoming the first Japanese player to win the Masters. For becoming the first Japanese player to win a major. All round long, this guy was in trouble and out of trouble. And that just, I kept coming back, just the incredible poise, control, calmness about him. That I know, again, we've seen so many times other golfers falter. We've all been in that situation. Those of us who are casual golfers, we know what it's like. It's not fun. So it's impressive. That's really what kept coming back to me, is just, even though for most of the time he had comfortable leads, he still had opportunities all throughout the day to falter, to give the lead away. We basically get overwhelmed by the moment. And instead, he never did. Kept fighting back, stayed to himself, never changed anything, never panicked. And it's very, very impressive how you're able to do that on such a massive, massive stage. So congratulations to you, Hideki. That was an awesome performance yesterday. A lot of fun to watch. And this is a guy that will be around here for a while. Be a lot of fun to see him now. Kind of get the first one out of the way. Really build that confidence and move on. I'm telling you, golf's in a good spot. There was a lot of really talented and skilled young golfers. Even Will Zalatoris. First Masters ever. Second place right there, finished a shot away from the win. Or a shot away from the tie. Golf is in a really, really good place. I know, obviously Tiger Woods is the guy. No one's ever been able to replace him. But man, there is so much young talent on the tour that it's going to be a lot of fun seeing these guys develop in front of our eyes here the next few years. And it's going to be really, really competitive going forward. So congratulations to you, Hideki. A lot of fun. He wins the Masters tournament. Again, first Japanese player to win the Masters, first Japanese player to win a major. I'm sure Japan was going wild what it was yesterday morning when he did eventually win it up, wrap it up and win. So if you want to get involved, Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Facebook, WWSRN_radio on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. What was the most impressive part in your mind of Hideki Matsuyama winning the Masters? So if you want to get it, you can get it on Facebook or Twitter. And when we come back, oh boy, like I said, technology has really made our lives simpler and easier. But unfortunately, that's not the case in every facet of life. It's time for technology in sports to go. I'll explain what I mean next. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show with you right here, as you heard, on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network until 11 a.m. Eastern. We started off on a good note, talking about Hideki Matsuyama and his incredible Masters victory. First Japanese male player to win a Masters, first Japanese male player to win a major tournament. But now let's talk about some frustrations here. Talk about a bad thing in sports that came over the light over the weekend. And that is really replay. Replay, part of technology. And as we know, technology for the most part has really made our lives simpler and easier in every facet of life, right? The iPhone, look at this. There's everything we possibly could need to know in the world is at the touch of our fingers. Technology, right? We can know about things that are happening across the world. We can get answers at the click of a finger. Super simple. Technology has made our lives in every facet of life, in every instance of life, a lot easier in one way or another. The only issue is, when it comes to technology in sports, you can really make the argument now, the opposite effect has happened. More technology that's added to sports, more replay that is added to all these sports leagues has made the game worse. And at this point, I'll be honest, I'm done. I'm done with replay. Overhaul it all. Get rid of it all. Throw it out the window. I'm serious. Pick it up. Take the headsets the umpires use. Let's take the monitors the referees use. Let's go. I guess the referees in football don't go under the hood anymore. But if they were, take the hood, throw it out. Throw it all away. I am sick and tired of replay, and I am ready to go back to a simpler time. No more replay in any sport. Let's go back to the 1920s. Life was simpler then. I'm sure, not having to complain about referees' calls, again, makes sports fans' lives that much easier. I am ready to go back in time. I am ready to go back when we were just complaining about a missed call, not complaining about replay. Because, honestly, when replay was first implemented in sports, when it came into the game, it was supposed to be, and it was viewed as a positive, right? Because now, look, especially with TV, and, well, first of all, because we're human, we get things wrong. We're not perfect, right? Umpires miss calls, referees miss calls. It is just part of the game, human nature, to make mistakes. But replay was supposed to be implemented, right, as a positive to correct those mistakes. Hey, an egregious call was missed. Let's just quickly go to the monitor. Oh, yep, that was wrong. Let's make the call and correct it quickly. So it was viewed as a positive that, hey, we can correct calls that are wrong. And most importantly, we can ensure the right call is always made. So that way, the controversy in sports is not about a missed call in one way or another. It's, hey, we fixed it. Let's worry about a missed play or a missed assignment or a drop pass or whatever, a great play. Keep the controversy on the field, now with the officials and the referees and the umpires. It's supposed to eliminate controversy. It is on the surface what replay is for, right? I mean, if we get the call right every time, and even if it's made wrong on the field, if we're able to go back and correct it, we shouldn't have controversy. We shouldn't have questions. But instead, replay in all sports has corrected some calls. I'm not going to pretend like, replay is useless. It has corrected some wrong calls. It has made sure that, some egregious errors are fixed. But in doing so, on top of that, correcting some missed calls, it has added controversy. It has sprinkled in agony, disbelief, and frankly, it's wasted a lot of people's time. It ruins the game because the flow of the game is stopped because now you're stopping, starting. Let's check the monitor. Let's look at the replay booth. Oh, there's a challenge on the field. Let's stand around here for 5 minutes. Did he get him? Is he inbounds? Is he out of bounds? Is the tag down? Fair or foul? And despite the fact that on replay, when we're sitting home, it looks like, oh, that correct call should be made one way or another. Then all of a sudden, the referee comes out and says, call on the field stands or overturned. And we're like, what are we watching here? To me, it's only made life worse as a sports fan, not better. Because it's included or it's brought along too many negatives than positives. And for me, when the negatives outweigh the positives, it's time to get rid of it. Take replay, throw it all out. In every sport, no replay. We're now just relying on the officials and the umpires and the referees on the field. Whatever call they make, that stands. That's it. No more guesswork. No more, oh, this looks like what's going to happen. Let's bring in, our rules official. Oh, this should what happened. Should be the ruling here. And then the referees on the field make the other call. And then we're sitting there dumbfounded, like, what are we watching here? If the point of replay is to get things right, and we don't get them right, what's the point? Honestly, what's the point? And now, 2 separate times this week, in baseball specifically, replay has failed to get the call right, and we are sitting here questioning, why do we even have replay? Earlier this week, Michael Conforto, a player in the Mets, if you're unaware, bases loaded in a tie game in the 9th inning against the Marlins. 3-2 count, 1 out. Breaking ball, Conforto checks his swing, pitches in the strike zone. It's about to be called strike. Conforto, if you're watching me on the live stream here, sticks his elbow out, just a little flick of the elbow, gets hit by the pitch. The referee and the umpire is about to call strike 3, then realizes Conforto gets hit, they move him to first base. It is clear and obvious on the replay. Conforto throws his elbow out there on purpose to get hit by the pitch. You can't do that. Not to mention the pitch is a strike. You can't do that. So they go to replay. Okay, we're going to go to replay. We're going to fix this. Well, the only issue is you can't fix it because all you can replay in baseball in that instance is whether the batter got hit or not. You cannot judge intent. You're not allowed to go back and say, oh, yeah, Conforto purposely threw his elbow out there, which you're not allowed to do. So we're going to take, that's going to be strike 3. We're not going to rule that the pitch is a strike. How can you possibly get hit by a pitch that's in the strike zone? That's, another reason. So there are two areas there. If you want to call a strike, because it is, or if you want to say Conforto purposely threw his elbow out, you can do that as well. Either way, replay was not allowed to even look at that. All they're allowed to rule is whether Conforto got hit by the pitch or not. They said he did. Game over. Mets win. Then last night, Sunday Night Baseball, Phillies, Braves, 9th inning of a tie game. Didi Gregorius, pop fly to short left field. Alec Boehm on third base, ready to tag up. Tags up. Throw home from Marcell Ozuna. On the money, bang, bang play. And Travis Darno, the catcher, catches the ball, tags Alec Boehm. Now, it looks like naked eye, bang, bang play. Looks very close. The home plate umpire rules Alec Boehm safe. Okay, fine. Close play. You know what we're going to do? We're going to go to replay. Because, again, what is replay used for? Remember, replay was brought in to make the correct call. So, in theory, it doesn't matter whether the umpire called safe or out. We're going to go to the monitor. We're going to get a clear look, and either Boehm got in there before the tag, or he didn't, and he's out. So either way, no harm, no foul with whatever you call on the field, because we will fix it in replay. So we're sitting there in replay. You're watching the replay at home. I'm watching the replay at home. You can see Alec Boehm slides before the plate. His foot kind of gets caught. Then it goes over the plate without touching it. In midair, hovers over the plate, then comes down on the other side. So he didn't touch home plate at any point in the slide. He's tagged out, so the ruling should be out. You see it, I see it. Okay. We're going to get the call correct. Well, what happened? The umpires come out. They say, call in the field stands, safe. Braves lose the game. So, again, I ask, if the point of replay is to get the call right, and now we have just 2 instances this week where the replay is not allowed to look at a call, or we're looking at a call and it's still wrong, what is the point? And baseball is not the only one guilty of this. Football is just egregious what you can review, what you can't review. There's probably the most guesswork between the studio analysts, right? You have Mike Pereira, you have Gene Steratore. They come on the TV, they tell you, oh, this is what should happen. And then all of a sudden the referee comes back in the field and it's a total opposite they're talking about. Football might have the biggest discrepancy in terms of what the studio referee is telling you and what the on-field referee rules one way or another. Do you remember, even a few years ago, no one knew what a catch was, by the way? In part because replay made it so complicated, so convoluted that we've all been football fans. We all watch and love the NFL, college football, whatever. Now, all of a sudden, because of replay, because of the confusion that replay brings along, because of the ambiguity, we don't know what is a catch or not. So now, every single time a player goes inbounds, makes a catch, out of bounds, in the end zone, we don't know if is it a touchdown, is it a catch, is it incomplete, is it a touchback? Nobody knows. All of a sudden, a rule that we learned for almost 100 years, that we knew definitively, that's a catch, it's not a catch. We were sitting there questioning, is it? Did he catch it? I don't know. He took 4 steps, but there the ball moves a millimeter. Is that enough? Is that control? What are we doing here? And we're all guessing at a play that we all knew what it was before replay kind of came in and got everything convoluted. Not to mention, just to catch aside, a lot of questionable calls in the NFL that we're sitting there going, is that really what they're seeing? What are they looking at that we're not looking at? Football, very guilty of it. Basketball. The two, you have the one coach's challenge per game. That usually, for the most part, goes fine. Some questionable calls. But even then, you have the 2-minute report that comes out every night where the NBA grades on how officials did. How many times do we have a 2-minute report that says, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. They should have instituted replay. They shouldn't have instituted replay. This should have been fixed. This is an incorrect call. Even though you have replay there, and even though in the last 2 minutes you can review a ton of things in the NBA without needing a coach's challenge, we still get things wrong. And in soccer, I'll say this. You know how I know soccer replay is arguably the worst? I'm not a soccer fan. I don't watch Premier League. Really, the only time I watch soccer, to be completely honest, is Team USA in the World Cup every 4 years. Soccer is just not my thing. I'm not into it. I never got into it. But even though I don't really watch soccer ever, I know VAR or VAR is the worst thing out there. I have never seen a soccer fan on Twitter ever compliment VAR. Ever. So even a sport I don't know anything about, that I don't watch ever, I know their replay system sucks. So again, I'll ask you, if we have replay to make things better, to get the call right, and it's not doing so, why do we have it in the game? Why are we adding more aggravation to the sports watching experience? Why are we adding more confusion to a game that, again, has us questioning basic plays that we thought for years and years and years, okay, that's a catch, that's not a catch. Okay, he's safe at the plate, he's not safe at the plate. And now we are watching replay after replay after replay that adds question to what we thought was a fact. So again, I'll put it this way. What is the defense for replay? Like, what sports league has actually got replay the right way to where there's really not much confusion? Actually, getting the call right is what happens 99% of the time. How many fans are left leaving the game when replays involves one another saying, oh yeah, the right call was made? It feels like it's coming less and less. So if we're going to be aggravated, if we're going to be frustrated, if we're going to be confused, frankly, honestly, I think I'd rather be confused, aggravated, frustrated with whatever call is made on the field and just live with that rather than watch a replay, watch the umpires go to replay and either see something there that they're not seeing or vice versa and make a call that's incorrect using replay. That just adds to the frustration. I'm sorry, I am sick of it. I am so sick of it. And now even too, when you have replay there to correct the wrong calls, you're not even allowed to replay everything. Again, the Michael Conforto hit by a pitch, you can't replay that he intentionally threw his elbow out, despite the fact that if you saw it, it's obvious. I saw it, it's obvious. The umpires know it's obvious. Hell, Michael Conforto knows what he did. But, hey, it's in the rules. You can't replay that portion, or you can't review that area of the game. So even though everybody here in the ballpark, everyone watching baseball knows it's the wrong call, we have to stick with it just because the rule is there. Or last night, you watch Alec Boehm slide home, misses the plate, 5 different angles, misses the plate, and you have the umpire still saying he's safe. So honestly, I am done. Football, basketball, baseball, pack it up, pack it in. Let's get it out. Get replay out of here. I'm done. I'd rather just be aggravated with whatever call is made on the field. And I'll say this too, in defense of the umpires, the referees, the officials, they do get a lot of these calls right. Sure, they miss, again, human error. They miss calls just like we make mistakes in life. But it's a lot less than you think. They are right way more times than they are wrong. So I'll live with the occasional human error blown call because guess what? At least you can own up to it and say, I missed the call. It's bad enough to me that now we have a system to prevent the wrong call from being made, and we still yet have the wrong call being made left and right in any sport. So I don't know about you, I'm done. Let's go back to the 1920s. Less technology in sports. No more replay. Throw it out. No more coaches' challenges. No more stopping the game in the NBA in the last 2 minutes. Oh, who did it deflect off of? And now we're piecing together frame by frame. Did it touch his finger? Is his finger bending back? I can't really see. And then we're going to be left guessing anyway. Because that's another thing, too. For a lot of these close calls that go to replay, some of it's, whether officials want to admit it or not, it is guesswork. We're sitting there, did he get it? Like, you are trying to zoom in as much as possible. Then it gets a little grainy. You can't really definitively say one way or another. And then you're left guessing. So if we're going to be guessing anyway, why not just leave it on the field? Why not save us the 5 minutes of slow-mo replay one way or another trying to dissect if a call is right or not? Let's just get the game going. Every sports league, really outside of football, maybe even football in a little bit, is trying to get the game sped up, right? Trying to go pace of play, trying to get the action done with. They're trying for shorter game times in order to cater to the youth. Well, replay sure as hell isn't slowing the game, isn't speeding the game up. Having all these pauses just makes the game worse. So you know what? I said, I'm done. Let's get rid of it. So I'm curious your thoughts. Do you agree? Is it time to get rid of replay in sports? Baseball, football, basketball, soccer. Take replay, take the headsets, take the monitors, take the calls to New York, or take the calls to Secaucus or the league headquarters, wherever they're located. Time to get rid of all of that. Whatever the official, the referee, the umpire makes on the field, that is the call. And you know what? Fine. Once in a while, we'll be screaming on here about how a call was missed. Obvious, how do you miss that? This team truly got screwed. But we're talking about teams getting screwed left and right anyway. Replay's not really changing that much. For what it was intended to be, to get the wrong call right, to get rid of controversy, eliminate controversy, it has done the opposite. It has added more. It's added more aggravation. It's added more confusion to the game. I think it's hurt the referees. I think it's hurt the players. I think it's hurting the game, the fans. So I'm done. So do you agree? Is it time to get rid of replay in sports altogether? Or am I being dramatic? Am I overreacting to, sure, 2 instances in 1 week in baseball where replay failed to get the call right? But am I, kind of conveniently forgetting? Because again, that's the one thing I'll say about replay. We only remember the wrong calls. We never remember the calls that were right. We never remember the calls that were overturned one way or another that ended up deciding the game for the right way. But honestly, I'm sick of it. I will sacrifice those small instances to, again, get rid of the controversy that happens every time you sit here, talk about a wrong call that was made that is still missed by replay. So do you agree or disagree? Is it time to get rid of replay altogether, or is it good in your mind in the sport? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio. At Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well, as where you can get on the conversation. So get your thoughts. And when we come back, there is actually something going on in the NBA that we haven't seen in years. Years. I'll tell you what that is next. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Ryan Hickey Show with you right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Talking about, or asking, I should say, is it time to get rid of replay in sports? I am all in favor of saying sayonara. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Get rid of replay altogether. Too many times have we supposed to get the call right and have not. So I'm done with it. I am just, save the aggravation, save the frustration, save the confusion for something else. We all have enough agitation in our lives. Don't want to add more to it because we're watching calls on the TV get wrong, even though we're watching with our own eyes. Oh, that call should have been gone this way, it goes the other way. It doesn't make any sense. So time to just, get rid of it all. So if you agree or disagree, if you disagree, I'd love to hear why you think replay is still good in sports. What sports league has done the best job with replay? Because I feel like every offseason, we're always questioning, how can we make replay better? We're always tinkering. There's always some sort of adjustment that can be made, and we never seem to find the solution. So if you do, or if you are in favor of it, you think it's a good thing, explain to me why. Love to hear it. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio. At Ryan Hickey Show, if you want to tweet the show there directly as well. So get your thoughts. I do want to circle back to an NBA point quickly here before we get to the top of the hour. Still have a lot of NFL draft coverage to get to here at top of the hour, including one thing in 15 minutes from now, one thing we always forget at this time of the year when it comes to quarterbacks in the draft. Without fail, it's happening again this year. I'll tell you what it is. But the NBA, we're approaching playoff time. We're about give or take a month away. But I think it's fair to say we are really starting to see the finals contenders show themselves, right? I think about this point in the season, we know who has a chance and who doesn't. And then when you actually look at the teams who have a chance, when you look at the East, when you look at the West, there is something we are seeing in the NBA for the first time in a few years. And really in the first time in a long time. Parity. We are seeing parity in the NBA where as we approach the playoffs now, coming up here in a few weeks, I think there's legitimately 7 teams that could make a run to the finals. 4 in the West, 3 in the East. I went back the last few years. Really can't find that many finals contenders in a while. Because think about it. Last year, did some rough math. I said about 5. Okay. But even before that, you have LeBron in Cleveland taking up the East when he went to 8 straight finals. You had the Warriors dynasty, but they went to 5 straight finals. Before that, LeBron with the Heat. You had the Thunder, you had the Spurs playing well, you had the Mavericks. But even as we get to playoff time in each of those respective years, it really is LeBron versus who, or the Warriors versus who. To where we get to playoff time, even if LeBron, when he was in Cleveland the second time, they'd be the 2nd seed, the 4th seed. There's no doubt they're going to the finals. There's no doubt the Warriors, even in some of the years they got the 2nd seed when the Rockets won a ton of games, there's no doubt the Warriors getting back to the finals. But now, this year especially, when you look at the landscape of the West, when you look at the landscape of the East, there truly is parity in the NBA come playoff time for the first time in a long time. I am so excited for it. This makes the playoffs, every round of the playoffs, entertaining, intriguing, exciting. And I am so pumped. Because think about it. Let me just give you quickly a run through the 7 teams. Because there's honestly an argument you can make for all of them why they'll make the finals and win and why they won't. Look at the Nets. If we start in the East here. The Nets, without a doubt, right, they have the most talent in the NBA. Their big 3 of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden. Add those 3 up. No one has more talent. No one can compete talent-wise with those 3. They had Blake Griffin. They had LaMarcus Aldridge. You have some young players developing. There's a lot of talent on the Brooklyn Nets. But the negative with the Nets, the reason why they might not make it to the finals, the reason why I believe they'll fall short of the finals personally, is that you look at history of the NBA. Since 1985, ESPN had this great stat last week that I thought was very fascinating. Since 1985, when you have the traditional big 3 on a team, no big 3 has won a title when the team has played less than a half season together. And when you look at the Nets, the big 3 of KD, Kyrie, Harden have played a combined 7 games together. And one of those games, remember, was the whole contact tracing fiasco where Kevin Durant wasn't allowed to start the game. He was in protocol. Then they figured, okay, he's allowed to play. He's clear to come in. He played a few minutes. Then I think it was even before halftime, they took him out again because the person he was in contact with ended up testing positive. So he played 10 minutes, if that. So you don't have these guys playing a lot of minutes together. And now that Kevin Durant is back, James Harden's out with a hamstring injury. Kyrie Irving is away for another personal reason. These guys are going to play, best case scenario down the stretch here, 10 to 15 games together, at absolute best. So you're going to get a big 3 together that have played about 20 games. And this is best case scenario together, heading into the playoffs out of 72. And again, since 1985, no big 3 has won a title when they have played less than a half season together. Something I'm looking out for, something I seriously question, but you look at the Nets, all the talent in the world, we'll see if they can actually put it together and have continuity, despite the fact that they haven't played together. Sixers? And you have Joel Embiid playing like an MVP when he's healthy. Great defensive team. 2nd defensive rating only to the Los Angeles Lakers. But when you look at the negative, their half-court offense, especially in the playoffs the last few years, gets bogged down. Teams focus on Embiid, and they know because Ben Simmons won't shoot the ball or isn't as effective when they're not in transition, it takes away a big threat. And it's almost a 4-on-5 on the court in some half-court offenses for the Sixers in the playoffs. So they have absolutely the ability to get to the finals. But you look, their big negative has been half-court offense, and because Ben Simmons, their star, struggles to shoot and won't even shoot, which is honestly the bigger issue. The Bucks, you have Giannis, especially the second half of this season, playing like his MVP form again. They added Drew Holiday in the offseason, gives them a true ball handler to start the offense, and they've missed that the last few years. Right? They never really had that true point guard to get the offense rolling here that could score off the dribble, set other players up. They have that now. The negative, obviously, as we know, Giannis has struggled in the playoffs when they build the wall. When teams build the wall and don't let him drive, force him to shoot jump shots, that's been a struggle. And as we know, the defense, it's been taken advantage of. They drop a lot of coverages, opens up a lot of threes, and if they're in the wrong matchup, Like we saw in the Heat in the bubble last year, they'll just kill them with threes. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Next thing you know, Bucks are out in the second round of the playoffs. So to me, when I look at the East, it is wide open. I truly think either the Nets, Sixers, or Bucks truly do have an equal opportunity to make the finals. Again, when was the last time in the Eastern Conference we pointed to 3 teams having a legitimate chance here to make the finals? When LeBron was there for 8 straight years, when he went to the finals, the only team was 1. Maybe 2, but the Raptors, the Celtics, truly we weren't believing in. When he left, we all thought it was going to be the Bucks. We have 3 teams in the East competing for a spot in the finals for the first time in a while. And you look at the West. West is just as wide open. Jazz, best record in the NBA. They do the one thing now that really helps win games. They drill threes. Make the most 3-pointers per game per team in the NBA. They're efficient at doing so because they're 4th in 3-point field goal percentage. So they take a lot of threes. They make a lot of threes. But the one negative, if you will, of the Jazz is that, especially when it comes to crunch time, they don't have that star player, if you will. I like Donovan Mitchell a lot. I like Rudy Gobert for the role he plays in. But Rudy Gobert is not Anthony Davis. Where it is truly, when we get down to the end of it, it is going to be Donovan Mitchell putting the team on his back here to score. See, if that's the knock you're going to make on the Utah Jazz, it is that lack of star power that they're missing, that other teams like the Lakers, the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Nets, the Sixers, they have that in multiple players. Clippers. I mean, you look at this year. Honestly, Paul George, for all the flack he got for Pandemic P and his playoff performance, shooting one off the side of the backboard in the bubble last year, en route in Game 7 to blowing a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets last year, he has played really well this year. Now, again, for Paul George, and especially for the Clippers, it's about postseason. What can they do then? Really, what they do in the regular season is not looked at because we know that they're a great team. The question was never about what they can do in the regular season. It's can they get it done in the playoffs? They brought Ty Lue in, try to get the chemistry back together. Obviously, as we know, that was a massive issue for the Clippers last year. They were a fractured team chemistry-wise, and part of the reason why you can look at their unravel in the bubble was because of that. Paul George is playing better. They're healthier. So see if that can translate over to the playoffs. The negative is really 2 things. One, their center position, especially when you look at the West, Rudy Gobert, Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, they do lack a true center to defend, to slow these guys down, to make some hay in the paint. And also, frankly, it is that belief. It's that looming belief of can the Clippers get it done? They have failed and failed and failed. Historically, especially as a franchise, they have always fallen short on a consistent basis. Remember the Lob City days? Chris Paul, Blake Griffin. Always supposed to be, one of these finals favorites and always come up short in the playoffs. Last year especially, I thought they were going to go to the finals. I thought they were going to win the finals. I thought they're personally the best team in the NBA last year. As we know, second-round exit, blow a 3-1 lead. So there is that true doubt that the Clippers can get it done. And you wonder if things go awry early. Is it that here we go again mentality? When you look at the Lakers, when they're healthy, obviously it's a key word if and when. But when they're healthy, they have 2 of the best players in the game. LeBron James and Anthony Davis. In my mind, if they're healthy, all things equal, they are finals favorites out of the West. And favorites to win the finals. But their negative is their health. This has opened up the West in a massive way just because we don't know when these guys come back and when they do come back, how effective they'll be. Anthony Davis, it seems, will return in about 2 weeks. LeBron will return in about 3 weeks. So let's just call it both of them returning very early May on the court together. It's going to give them about 10 days, 2 weeks to ramp back up into shape and try to get themselves playing the best basketball they can by the time playoff time comes. And remember, for LeBron, remember this. LeBron has only had one other major injury in his career. That was his groin injury the first year he was in LA a few years ago. The Lakers missed the playoffs. LeBron came back for a little bit. Then when they're out of the playoff run, he sat the rest of the year. He has never suffered an injury during the year where he's missed significant time and have to come back and ramp up for the playoffs. Why is that significant? Because we know, especially with LeBron, all the money he pays, right? Pays $1 million to work on his body to get into shape. Well, he works on his body and he uses the regular season basically as a runway to get ready for the playoffs. He knows where the true, where his hay is made, if you will, where his money is made. That is in the playoffs. So the entire regular season is almost like a warm-up, a way to get his play up to speed. So by the time the playoffs come, he is playing his best basketball. He's ready to play 40 minutes a night. He's ready to score, rebound, pass. And as we know, LeBron is one of the best postseason players in history. In part because he uses the regular season, the entirety of the regular season, to map out a plan. So by the time the season ends and some guys' legs are tired and they're exhausted and bruised and banged up, LeBron is hitting his peak. This is the first time his schedule is totally thrown off. To where now he has to basically rush back, ramp up again, and try to get into his peak in about 2 weeks with a player that he hasn't played with in a while either, in Anthony Davis. It's going to be fascinating to see how this goes for LeBron and the Lakers. So they have, star power-wise, the two best players, the best dynamic duo in the NBA. The issue is we don't know how they're going to respond health-wise. And again, Anthony Davis, especially with the calf/Achilles injury, those are always, always scary. We saw it happen with Kevin Durant a few years ago. And finally, the fourth team in the West that I think legitimately can contend and can go to the finals is the Nuggets. I was so wrong here. A few weeks ago when we had the show on the NBA trade deadline day, I thought the only move that could legitimately move the needle in terms of elevating a team's finals chances was Kyle Lowry to the Sixers. Obviously, that trade didn't go down. I was advocating for it to be made. Didn't happen. The trade that did go down that I didn't think would have as much of an impact as it did was Aaron Gordon going to the Nuggets. It has been phenomenal. 7-1 since that trade was made for the Nuggets. And he has not only made himself better, he's made Nikola Jokic better, he's made Jamal Murray better. Aaron Gordon, just his presence alone, being on the wing, being an off-ball creator, he has blossomed in that offense. And again, he has made the players around him better. That team is humming right now. They're getting a ton of easy baskets. Murray is knocking down shots. Jokic is passing the ball all over the court. And even defensively, he's given them an upgrade. So he has been a tremendous, tremendous fit for the Nuggets. I think he's elevated their ceiling way higher than I could have expected. The negative for me, the big concern with the Nuggets, it still honestly is Jamal Murray's inconsistency. We saw what he did in the bubble last year. It was incredible. This guy could not miss. Taking over games, 30 points, 40 points, 45 points, 50 points, putting the Nuggets on his back, taking them to the Western Conference Finals, where eventually they lost to the Lakers. But this year, started off slow, got back, and even still, he's had some inconsistent games where he is shooting 1 of 10, 2 of 12, and he just looks lost out there. And I just wonder, all right, is the bubble Jamal Murray, is that just a bubble thing? Where, as we know, some players thrive to the bubble. And is this a guy that Jamal Murray can repeat that performance or not even get to that level, but just mirror it to the point where he is consistently playing really good basketball, stroking the shot well, and just being a consistent and reliable option for the Nuggets? I'm not sold that he can do that in the playoffs again. So when you lay out positives and negatives, again, this to me, having 7 teams that legitimately can contend for the finals now, as we about a month away from the playoffs, this is something that we haven't seen in the NBA in a while. Parity. We have legitimate questions. We have ideas of who we think can make it. We have thoughts of, okay, this team is stacked really well, or this team is a team to beat in the West or the East. But I don't think we can definitively say we're going to get a Lakers-Nets finals. We're going to get a Clippers-Sixers finals. To me, it is wide open in both leagues right now. 3 in the East, 4 teams in the West. And that's something we haven't been able to enjoy in the NBA in a very long time. And I am so pumped for it. May and June are going to be a ton of fun. So do you agree? I'm looking at the NBA right now. I'm looking at the standings as we kind of inch our way to the playoffs. For the most part, the teams that are going to be contenders have identified themselves. I don't think there's any team that's going to enter the fray that we're going to say, oh yeah, finals contender. 3 in the West. 3 in the East, Nets, Bucks, Sixers. 4 in the West, you have the Jazz, Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets. I think those are the 7 teams that we'll be looking at, that we'll be talking about as the only teams to legitimately make a finals run. Is there more? Is there less? Am I overhyping some teams, not giving other teams enough credit? Do you agree or disagree? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. So get your thoughts. When we come back, NFL draft time 2.5 weeks away. April 29th in Cleveland is where Roger Goodell will be announcing the first round of the draft. So as we inch our way closer, there is something we do without fail every single year. It is happening this offseason. It is happening right now as we speak. It happens every single year without fail. When it comes to quarterbacks in the draft, I'll tell you what it is next. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here with you on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome in to the Ryan Hickey Show. If you're just joining us for the first time this morning, welcome. If you've been listening, we appreciate you listening and starting your Monday with us here. Hour number 2 of the Ryan Hickey Show going until 11 a.m. Eastern. Coming to you live, as we always are, from the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios, whether it's great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners. Check out Big Italy Pizzeria in person in Medford, Joe's Pizzeria in Bayshore, classic New York pizza joint also in Bayshore, or online at BigItalyPizza.com. So I want to start hour number 2 with some NFL draft talk, right? Oh, good old NFL draft talk. We are 2.5 weeks away from the draft. I'm excited. And to be honest, I think I'm the most excited for a draft to happen in a while. Usually by this point, I'm kind of just tired of the discussion, ready to get to it. I'm definitely ready to get to it. But nonetheless, very excited for the NFL draft. I think it'll be a lot of fun. But the lead up to the NFL draft is sometimes an exhausting and excruciating process. Because there's so much downtime. There's so much now breakdown of the tape, deep diving, nitpicking, if you will, on all of these prospects. That sometimes I think we get lost in our own thought. We kind of get lost in the sauce, if you will. And here's what I want to kind of talk about, especially when it comes to quarterbacks. Because now the obsession in the NFL, especially in the draft, is finding the next franchise guy. How many times on this show do we talk about how the quarterback is the most important position in all sports? You want to get it right. And now, at least for the most part, each case is different, but for the most part, the best way to find a franchise quarterback is through the draft. Drafting someone and getting a known that you think is going to be really developed really well. Sometimes you get lucky, like a Russell Wilson. You fall onto a guy in the 3rd round or 4th round, Dak Prescott, and you find your franchise guy late in the draft that you didn't expect. But there's one thing we do in the media. There's one thing we do as fans each and every year without fault. We never realize it in the moment. It takes years to look back on and realize. But each year we fall into the same trap. We do the same thing over and over and over again. And what is that? We always kind of fall in love with the quarterback class. We always convince ourselves that these guys are going to be franchise-changing quarterbacks, when in reality, with history, with statistics, a lot of these guys are going to fail. In all honesty, think about it. 1 to 2 quarterbacks per draft class actually hit. And even with that said, one usually sometimes will reach that elite level, franchise level status. One or two, maybe, will have a good season or two, be serviceable quarterbacks. Not the worst guy. They're pretty good. There are quarterbacks better, but there are plenty of quarterbacks that are worse. And each and every year we fall in love and convince ourselves that whatever quarterback is taken at 2, at 4, at 6, at 8, this is the guy we can't miss. He is going to be a Hall of Fame, Super Bowl quarterback. When in reality, a lot of these guys fail. So all the discussion, right, leading into this year's draft is about Trevor Lawrence. Is it going to be Justin Fields at 2? Is it going to be Zach Wilson at 2? How about Mac Jones? Is he going to, the 49ers trying to get Mac Jones, Trey Lance? And even recently, which kind of set me off the edge and wanted to bring this topic up, you have draft analysts now talking about Kellen Mond being a hot riser, the Texas A&M quarterback. Davis Mills, the Stanford quarterback, now is apparently the hottest commodity. You thought, what is it? Is it gold? I believe it's gold or oil is the hottest commodity in terms of the world. Now, apparently, in the draft world, it's Davis Mills. this guy apparently is the second coming of God, because now apparently he is just running at people's draft boards, and people are all in on Davis Mills, thinking that he is going to be the guy to save whatever franchise drafts him. And now there's talk he could go in the first round. So think about it. There could be possibly 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round. We've convinced ourselves, we broke it down. I like this guy for this reason. I don't like this guy for this reason. When in reality, again, most of these guys will fail. 1 or 2 will hit. And a lot of these teams will be, those that are quarterback needy, those that are desperate for a quarterback, will be in the same spot 2, 3, 4 years down the road. So let's go back a decade. If you don't believe me, maybe you'll believe the stats. Let's go back. So I didn't count the 2020 draft because these guys only had a year. Tough to kind of, truly dissect how they're playing, truly dissect what the future is going to be in just 1 year. So I went back from 2010 to 2019. 10 years, the last 10 years of quarterbacks taken in the first round. There have been a total of 30 quarterbacks taken in the first round between 2010 and 2019. Out of those 30, you had 14 make a Pro Bowl. 3 of them, just 3 out of 30, made an all-pro first team. Just an all-pro team, excuse me. 3 out of 30 made an all-pro team, and only 5 quarterbacks taken between 2010 and 2019, a decade worth of sample size. Only 5 out of 30 are on the current team that drafted them. So again, we fall in love with guys. We break down these guys. This guy's going to be good. This guy's going to be good. That guy's our guy. We got to get this guy. We got to trade up. We got to trade up from 25 to 2 because this guy is a can't-miss prospect. When the facts tell you that less than half the quarterbacks taken in the first round just make a Pro Bowl. And think about it. We are drafting guys. You draft a quarterback in the first round to be your franchise guy, right? You don't draft a quarterback in the first round to get 1 or 2 good years out of him. You don't draft a quarterback in the first round to have 2, 3, 4 years and then move on to someone else. You draft a quarterback in the first round to have him be your franchise guy for the next 10, 15, hell, if they're like Tom Brady, 20 years. You never, ever draft a quarterback thinking that, they'll be a gap piece. They'll be okay. All we need is 1 or 2 good years, and then we'll cut bait and go somewhere else. You draft a first-round quarterback every single year with the hopes and with the, frankly, expectation that they will be around for a long time. They will lead your team to playoff appearances, to Super Bowl appearances, to Super Bowls, and you hope that they make Pro Bowls, all-pro teams, and maybe you hope one day they get enshrined into the Hall of Fame with your team's logo on their head. Or on their bust, I should say. Excuse me, not on their head. That was dumb. But the facts tell you that rarely is the case. And each year we do it with all these quarterbacks. We are going to have 5, maybe 6 quarterbacks go in the first round. Are there truly 6 first-round graded quarterbacks? No. Every year we fall into the same trap where because the quarterback position is so important, the most valued in sports, that we elevate guys' profiles and we reach for quarterbacks early in the draft because we need a quarterback, so we got to take this guy. Forget that probably, if he was any other position, this would be a second-round grade. Forget the fact that, okay, he's not really that good, but we are in a team of need right now. If we're picking 7, 8, 9, we're taking the 4th quarterback there. We don't love him, but you know what? We need a quarterback. We got to get the fan base going here, so we're going to take a guy and hope he's the one. Or you could take a quarterback, be pumped up, be fired up, get the fan base going. This is our guy. We got our guy. And then not give him the tools to succeed. So in totality, when we look at probably 5, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, the 5 that are guaranteed to go in the first round, let's just call for what it is. 1 will be really good. 1 has a chance to make an all-pro team, take the team to the playoffs, be the guy going forward for the future. Be there for 10 years. 2 to 3 can be serviceable. Meaning, again, are they the best quarterback? No. There are plenty worse. Maybe they can have a year or 2 where they can make a playoff appearance, play really good, make a Pro Bowl, but inconsistency-wise or not, maybe their level of play truly isn't enough to carry a team. again, there are plenty of worse players, so we'll just stick with what we got. And 2 will probably be really bad. So again, we waste all of this time and energy and focus and breaking down all this tape. And the facts tell us that more of these guys fail than succeed. And also, a thing that honestly gets me infuriated the most about this entire process is so many times we look at the player. What do they do well? What don't they do well? How big are they? How small are they? What is their hand size? What is their 40 time? All of our energy is spent on what these guys do. Do well, do poorly. Not a lot of energy, of time, of evaluation is spent on the destination that they go to. Because honestly, I can make the argument, I feel good saying this, that a young quarterback that's drafted, their success or failure has more to do with the team that they go to compared to actually their talent, their skills, or lack thereof. I can make the argument, I will sit here and I do believe that the team you go to, the head coach that drafts you, the talent around you, hell, even the patience from the coaching staff, the front office, and the fan base can have an impact on whether you will be a success or not. I think more times than not, a quarterback's talent or lack thereof isn't the reason why they fail or succeed. It's a situation they go to. So you can have a quarterback, in my mind, like Sam Darnold, who I truly think he is very talented. He got the short end of the stick in New York, and I think he will actually bounce back and play really well in Carolina. Is he as bad as he looked the first 3 years in New York? Absolutely not. Is it fair for him to be getting just basically run over by the fan base because he was so bad? No. You look at other instances where quarterbacks go to good situations, like Justin Herbert per se, where I was not really high on Justin Herbert. I had questions about how good he truly can be. I don't think many people in the NFL, when Justin Herbert was drafted to the Chargers, expected him to have the best year, better than Tua, better than Joe Burrow. But because he had skill position players to throw the ball to in Keenan Allen, in Mike Williams, because he had Austin Eckler, Hunter Henry's a tight end, even though the offensive line just was putrid, there was enough talent around him and competent coaching at least to give him a chance to succeed, and he took off. Is he having this much success if he was drafted by the Jets or even the Bengals? If the Bengals took Justin Herbert at number 1, he is not, to me, winning Rookie of the Year. So many times we stress out, we freak out about 40 times about hand size, about decision making. Too many times we focus on the quarterback themselves, what they do right, what they do wrong, instead of realizing, hey, most of the battle is about where they end up. So that's why, to me, with San Francisco trading up to number 3 in the draft, I feel very confident in saying that quarterback, wherever they go, Justin Fields, maybe Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, that to me, whatever quarterback goes there at number 3, will be put in a position to have by far the most success of any quarterback drafted. More than Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, more than Zach Wilson if he goes to the Jets at number 2. To me, if you tell me, all right, 1 has to be great, 2 to 3 are serviceable, 2 to 3 are bad, I will put right now, depending, and I got to see again, this conversation is a little bit easier once we see who actually goes at number 3, because I think Mac Jones, to me, his ceiling is a little lower than Justin Fields and Zach Wilson, but let's just say whatever. Whoever goes at number 3 will be put in the position best to succeed. And yeah, I think they will have, when we look back in 5 years, 10 years, 49ers will have the best quarterback and most successful quarterback of this draft class, despite the fact that Trevor Lawrence, we're not even really talking about him because it's just a slam dunk that he's going number 1. But that just shows you how much situation matters. And we fall into the same cycle year in and year out. This guy's a chemist. This guy's a sleeper. Oh, we need to mortgage the farm. This is the guy. Look at that decision making. Look at his size. Look at his arm strength. Look at that 40 time. This is the guy for us. And then when you realize, you take him, but he doesn't have anyone to throw to. But the head coach doesn't really know what he's doing, doesn't really accentuate his strengths more, and he hopes that quarterback kind of fits into his mold of offense instead of vice versa, catering the offense to what the quarterback does well. And next thing you know, again, you are sitting here in 2, 3, 4 years drafting another quarterback, going in the same cycle you just were in. Fawning over players instead of realizing a lot of the success or failure is your own team's doing. So every year it's the same thing. We fall in love with 2, 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks. There could be 5 quarterbacks going in the top 10. And think about it. Every team drafts a quarterback, especially in the first round, but let alone the top 10, thinking they are going to be the franchise guy. Multiple Pro Bowls, all-pro teams, playoff appearances, Super Bowl appearances, Super Bowl wins, Hall of Fame bust. You don't draft a quarterback in the top 10 to think they'll be there for 2 or 3 years. Maybe we'll get 1 Pro Bowl appearance. We probably won't give him a second contract. Maybe we'll make a playoff appearance or 2. Maybe win a playoff game. But, other than that, that's it. You draft guys in the top 10 to be your cornerstone player. And history tells you that really rarely is the case. Again, 30 quarterbacks drafted in the first round from 2010 to 2019, a decade worth of sample size. Out of those 30 quarterbacks, 14 made a Pro Bowl. Just, 1 or more, but just a Pro Bowl. 3 of those guys made all-pro teams, only 5. 5 out of 30 quarterbacks within the last decade are on the same team that drafted them. It's anything but a slam dunk. There are a few, if any, locks in the draft, especially quarterback-wise. So much of it falls on the team, how they develop, what they put around the quarterback, but we don't focus on that. All we focus on is the quarterback coming out of college. What do they do well? What don't they do well? Why do we love this guy? Why is he falling down people's draft boards? And it's the same thing every year. We talk ourselves 3, 4, 5 guys are going to be the answer, when in fact, usually it's 1. At best 1, maybe 2 that are true hits in the draft. So all this energy, all of this concern if your team is in the process of drafting a quarterback, all of this, and even for me, passion that comes with defending one guy over another, a lot of it ends up being for naught. Because again, don't forget, more of these guys fail than succeed. Just remember that. When we go into this draft, when 5 quarterbacks are taken potentially in the top 10 picks, probably top 15, more of these guys fail than succeed. You'll have 1 play really well, 2 to 3 be serviceable, 2 to 3 be bad. Just remember that each and every year, we fall into the same trap thinking that this guy's a must, I can't miss. This guy's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes, next Peyton Manning, next Tom Brady, next Dan Marino. We hear the comparisons each and every draft cycle. When we can barely get quarterbacks that could be the next Ryan Tannehill, the next Jimmy G. So I'm curious your thoughts. Do you agree? Are we not wasting time, but how many quarterbacks, I'll put it this way. How many quarterbacks in your mind do you think can truly be successful? We're looking at 5 years from now. How about this? 5 years from now. How many quarterbacks are on the current team that drafted them? I think that's a great question. That's a great question for after the draft, too, when we kind of know where they're going. How many quarterbacks 5 years from now will be on the same team that drafted them? Facebook Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. So I want to parlay that into this. We just talked about how, at least in my mind, a lot of the success or failure of drafting a quarterback comes with the team. Team does by far not get enough either praise when things go right or failure when things go wrong. Speaking of which, so if you're in the market or you have to develop a young quarterback, which head coach do you trust the most to do so? I have mine. I have top 5 coaches that I trust to develop young quarterbacks. I'll tell you my list when the Ryan Hickey Show returns right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show with you right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. As a reminder, make sure to like us on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Follow us on Twitter at WWSRN_radio. Download the app, most importantly, WWSRN for iOS, Worldwide Sports Radio Network for Android. Because guess what? We have not only a lot of things on the network right now, a lot of good things coming. Ton of great shows, WrestleMania, draft coverage, NBA, NFL. We got you covered here day and night, weekend, weekday on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You don't want to miss it. So the best way to do so, keep up to date with everything going on, is downloading the app, WWSRN if you have an iPhone, or type in on the App Store for Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, like us on YouTube, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. That way you can always stay up to date. Every show goes live, you get a notification. Especially on YouTube, our great producer, Speedy PD, puts up clips from shows. So in case you miss a segment, you can go back, listen to it, without digging through the show to find it. Boom, it's right there for you at the touch of a click, touch of a finger. Man, I really screwed up some of these sayings today. Whew, tough one. But it's nice and easy. It is convenient, right? We just talked about before with replaying sports, how technology in sports has made life harder. Well, we are here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network to make your life easier. You want to listen to content? We want to give you the content to listen to. We do so very easily in all these different areas. Visit our website as well, worldwidesportsradio.com. All the articles, shows, everything that we do in the network here. Easy to follow along. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, app, website. All in one spot. Nice and easy. So I highly suggest you do so. I did it. I didn't regret it. You didn't. You won't regret it. I love the audience. I always want what's best for the audience, which is why I always try to pick the best stories and discussion points for each and every show. So if I don't try to lead you in the wrong way, topic-wise, why would I try to lead you in the wrong way in terms of downloading an app or liking something on Facebook or following an account on Twitter? I do so because I think it's the best, or what I would do, which I am doing. But also, I'm not going to lead you in the wrong direction. I'm not going to do the old okie dokie here where you're coming at me 2 weeks from now, a month from now, saying this is the worst thing I ever did. Promise will be one of the best things you ever do. You won't regret it. So we just had a discussion talking about, as you're listening to the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We're here every Monday and Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., right here only on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We're talking about one thing we always do. We always fall into this trap. Each and every draft season of falling in love, thinking that these guys, especially quarterback-wise, are can't-miss prospects. These are going to be the next studs. Rarely, though, does that ever actually be the case. And part of my argument was that we rarely or don't enough look at teams as failures or successes when it comes to developing young quarterbacks. So that in mind, part of my argument was the 49ers, to me, at 3, will have the chance to easily have the best quarterback of the draft when we look back in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now. Part of the reason, the talent on that team, but also Kyle Shanahan, to me, is a genius head coach that I think his offensive system and his scheme is perfect for young quarterbacks to learn from. So with that in mind, I thought, you know what? Top 5 NFL coaches, which coaches do I trust the most? If they were given a young quarterback to develop, could they actually get the job done? I have 5. Love to hear your thoughts. Which coach in your mind would best develop young talent? We just saw 3 quarterbacks made an all-pro team out of 30 drafted in the first round in the last decade. Just 5 are on their current team right now, out of 30 quarterbacks taken in the first round. So as we've seen, it has been more failure than success when it comes to developing young quarterbacks. So who does it the best? Give me my top 5. Number 5, I have Frank Reich, the Colts head coach, for a few reasons. Number 1, you look what he did with Andrew Luck. Now, I understand it's not a young quarterback, but hear me out when I'm explaining what I'm going to explain. Andrew Luck, obviously, as we know, did change the franchise for the Colts when he was actually playing and healthy. But 2017, he missed the entire year with a shoulder injury. A lot of doubt of whether Andrew Luck could even return and get healthy. Frank Reich is hired. Andrew Luck comes back after missing all of the 2017 season. And what happens? Highest completion percentage of Andrew Luck's career in 2018 with Frank Reich, 67%. Threw for the second highest amount of touchdowns in his career, 39, just one off of a career high. And he had both the highest passer rating and QBR of his career. So Andrew Luck, despite being really good for the Colts early on in his career, then gets hurt, coming off of a major injury. to where he was almost kind of nursed back the first few weeks. It was a little tough to watch trying to get the rust off. He had either career highs or just short of career highs in a lot of important categories in Frank Reich's first year. As you know, Andrew Luck retires heading to the 2019 season. Jacoby Brissett is there, plays okay. They bring Philip Rivers in for 2020. Philip Rivers did not like the move because I thought his career was dead. He floundered, especially in 2019 with the Chargers. He's 39 years old. You think, okay, this is probably it for Phil. His career is on the wrong side now. And Frank Reich helped Philip Rivers turn his career around for a year. 24 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Colts made the playoffs at 11-5. And Frank Reich got the most out of a guy where I thought his career honestly was done. And this is a guy that I trust to put quarterbacks in positions to succeed because what he does is twofold. Very run-oriented, not afraid to establish a run, not afraid to rely on the run game, so take pressure off a young quarterback, but he also knows how to put them in positions to succeed, whether it's calling plays that fit their style the best, whether it's creating routes that put guys open and just easy reads, easy throws. He gives basically the quarterback the best chance to succeed. It's not, this is my offense, you better run it. It's not, hey, this is a tough throw, but I want to run this, so you better figure it out. It's on you to make it. No. I'm going to cater my style to make you comfortable. Do you like this route? Okay, we're going to run that. Do you like this play design? No? Okay, we'll stay away from that. We'll do whatever works best for you. That's, to me, the massive key here with all five of these head coaches that rings in the difference between success and failure. So number 5, I have Frank Reich. Number 4, we just saw it, Kevin Stefanski with the Browns. And Frank Reich has been able to do so in terms of a young quarterback, right, developing at Andrew Luck. Jacoby Brissett, not young-ish, but still he wasn't his first or second year. He's been around the league for a few years before he started. Philip Rivers, obviously, as we know, has been around, and now he has Carson Wentz, who's been around the league as well. Baker Mayfield, sure, he had 2 years under his belt in Cleveland before Kevin Stefanski came in. Wow. Were those 2 years arguably the 2 worst years in terms of just hell you could probably face as a young quarterback. You go in with Hugh Jackson, doesn't know what he's doing. Guy is 1-31 in the previous 2 years. You go to Cleveland, already on Hard Knocks. We are seeing in preseason Todd Haley and Hugh Jackson kind of having some infighting, almost having a mini power struggle, if you will. Todd Haley is fired. Hugh Jackson, a few weeks into the season, fired. Freddie Kitchens is promoted to offensive coordinator. He takes over as head coach, clearly not ready. Arguably, no quarterbacks had the 2 worst years start a career than Baker Mayfield. So what Kevin Stefanski was able to do, coming in, establishing stability, establishing an identity, and giving Baker Mayfield a system to work with that actually works. Remember, 3 systems in 3 years for Baker Mayfield. This one actually works. And he increased Baker's efficiency. He had the lowest turnovers of his career, just 8 interceptions. And look at his QBR. So his rookie year, he had a QBR of 51.2. 2019, 54.4. Kevin Stefanski's first year in 2020, Baker Mayfield's QBR jumped up to 72.2. 20 points. Over 20 points from his first year to his second year, and almost 20 points from year 2 to year 3. So the growth was there, in part because he established an identity, found a system that works, and put Baker Mayfield in positions to succeed. It's really not that hard. Stefanski did it, and guess what? It worked out, and I honestly can't wait to see what Baker Mayfield does in year 2. Because if you look at it, it was almost like it was his rookie year. So many different, systems, and think about it. Despite Baker Mayfield going to now year number 4 in the NFL, this is the first time in his career since his days at Oklahoma we have an offense that was in place from one year to the next. So no learning a new offense, learning new code words, learning new reads, learning new dialogue of the plays. Everything is the same from one year to the next. For the first time in his career, I think he'll have a massive jump. Kevin Stefanski was able to do that. So Frank Reich 4, Kevin Stefanski 3. I'll go Sean McVay at, Kevin Stefanski 4. Number 3, I have Sean McVay. Because what he does in offense is essentially try to give the quarterback as many answers to the test pre-snap as possible. You look at, in terms of success with other quarterbacks, he had a ton with Kirk Cousins. He had the most single-season passing yards of his career back in 2016 when Sean McVay was the offensive coordinator. helped get Jared Goff to a Super Bowl, which, as we've seen, is a lot harder to do than you would think. But he gives the quarterback clues, whether it's motion, whether it's certain formations, that allows the quarterback to see, for the most part, what the defense is doing. Now, as we know, Jared Goff struggled with that, and that's part of the reason why he is shipped on out of here up to Detroit. But McVay tries to at least make it easy for the quarterback to where as soon as the ball is snapped, they have an idea, okay, that they're blitzing, they're in zone, they're in man, I know where I'm going, this read is going to work, this route's going to work, bing, bang, boom, ball's out quickly, this is what we're going to do. He helps give the quarterback the answers to the test. So it's not just, hey, this is the play I'm calling, figure it out. It is, hey, we're going to line up this way, the defense is going to show one look, we'll put this guy in motion, that way we can truly say, what are they doing on defense? So that way, the quarterback has an idea, when the ball is snapped, this is where I'm going. It's not, we're going to call this play, see what happens as soon as the ball is snapped, make a read, and then throw it like that. As you know, football's quick. You get the ball 2 seconds in and out. Not a lot of time to process information quickly, make your read, make your second read, make your third read. If you have at least even one idea pre-snap of where to go with the ball, who to throw it to, it makes your life so much easier. And that's what Sean McVay does. And that is huge for a young quarterback. Because the thing you always hear about, really in any sport, but especially the NFL, the thing that rookies heading to their second year, they'll look back on and say the difference always is the speed of the game. Not just that the players are faster, but the players get to their spots faster. They disguise coverages better. So that way, if you are confused, college maybe sometimes they're a little slower, they're a little worse at disguising what they're trying to do. They're a little slower, maybe if they're pretending to blitz, falling back and getting to their zones. Pros, it's as soon as the ball's out, they're in position. So it's about using that and speeding up your decision-making to say, I got 1.5, 2 seconds to know where I'm getting the ball as soon as it's snapped to where I'm throwing it. I think McVay does a great job of at least giving the quarterback as many answers as possible pre-snap before the play is in motion. Speaking of which, talking about giving quarterbacks answers to the test, Kyle Shanahan, number 2, and I cannot wait to see what he does with whatever quarterback is drafted number 3. Because this guy, this is a scheme god right here. This guy knows how to put defenses in compromising situations. You want to run one thing, you think you have the 49ers fooled, or you can get home on a blitz. Kyle Shanahan always has an answer, always has a counter to whatever you are trying to do. He will run the ball down your throat. You can know he's running the ball, and guess what? He designs it in a way that you still can't stop it. Raheem Mostert is still running over the Packers in that NFC title game. But think about it. I'll put it this way. The 49ers got to the Super Bowl in 2019 running the ball a ton. This is a pass-first league. Running the ball, honestly, is obsolete. People do it just to keep them honest, just to pretend and say you have a run game if you're a team like the Chiefs, for example. Or if you're a team like the Packers. Kyle Shanahan said, fine, we'll run the ball and we'll run it down your throat. You think passing is the way to win the game? We're going to zig when everyone else is zagging. We're going to punch in the mouth. We're going to run the ball down your throat, and we are going to get to the Super Bowl because of it. Whether it's Matt Ryan leading him to an MVP in 2016, leading them to the Super Bowl. I think about it. Jimmy G, I think he's an okay quarterback. I think he's one of those serviceable guys we talked about before, where he'll make a Pro Bowl here and there. Shanahan's 22-8 with Jimmy G as a starter. They made a Super Bowl. I think you can do a lot better than Jimmy G quarterback-wise. I think there are other avenues to improve your team quarterback-wise that Kyle Shanahan can get the most out of than Jimmy G. Despite that, he wins with what he has. He develops and caters an offense to that skill set. And I think now if he is able to get an athletic freak, whether it's Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, you get someone that's mobile now and adds another element to their game with the receivers, the offensive line, the run game. I think whoever is taken at number 3 is going to be put in the best position to succeed. So we're looking at it 5, 10, 20 years from now. We will say, man, whoever the 49ers got at number 3, that was the best quarterback in this draft. That was the guy that was put in the position to succeed the most and did so. So I really am excited to see what Kyle Shanahan does at number 3. I think whoever he picks, he will put them in position to succeed. And even though he has his own style and scheme, he is able at least to cater that to whatever kind of quarterback he has. He's been able to win while running the ball. right, in a league that's transformed to passing. He's able to win with not very mobile quarterbacks in Jimmy G and Matt Ryan in a league now that is putting more and more athletes at quarterback. Dual threat guys are becoming really in vogue, if you will. And Shanahan is still winning despite that. So I think now you give him mobile quarterback, I think they'll be really, really, really good. And finally, so you have Frank Reich 4, Kevin Stefanski 3, Sean, did it again. I don't know why I keep skipping 4. Frank Reich 5, Kevin Stefanski 4, Sean McVay 3, Kyle Shanahan 2, number 1, obvious one, Andy Reid. I mean, he has already done it. My case, honestly, 2 words. Patrick Mahomes. That's it. The floor is yours. That's really all I have to say. But look at it. He took, because Mahomes coming out of Texas Tech was raw. He had talent. He had a lot of arm strength, we saw. But he was not a polished product like Andrew Luck or Trevor Lawrence. He was not this consummate pro that we thought, oh, this is a guy who's going to take over the next league. We didn't really know much about Patrick Mahomes. He was a project. And he was able to take that raw talent, that tremendous arm strength, and he was able to shape that into an MVP winner, into a Super Bowl winner, into the best quarterback in the NFL right now in 2021. Reid was able to shape an offense that accentuated Patrick Mahomes' strengths. Rode that to a 50-touchdown year, and if you want to call it his rookie year, but his second year in the NFL, first year as a full-time starter. Hell, he even had Alex Smith in 2017 when they drafted Mahomes. The final year, Alex Smith was a starter in Kansas City. He had Alex Smith throw for a career-high 26 touchdown passes. Andy Reid's a great play caller, a great play designer, and to me, that is a dream. Any young quarterback, if you could have your pick of the litter for, hey, basically, roles reversed. Instead of teams picking you, you pick your teams. If I'm a young quarterback, I would say I want to go to Andy Reid. This guy knows how to take me, mold me into the best quarterback in the NFL. So to me, if I had one head coach, only allowed one to develop a young quarterback, to me, it is definitely Andy Reid by far. He did so with Patrick Mahomes. I think he'd do it again with whatever. Let's say if the Chiefs had to draft a quarterback this year, I think he could do it with whatever quarterback that was there for them. He knows how to put players in positions to succeed, make it easy on the quarterback, and thus allow success for whoever they draft. So I'm curious your thoughts. You have one head coach in your mind that could develop a young quarterback. Who do you trust the most? Because again, to me, a lot of a success or failure of a young quarterback in the draft is based on development from the head coach. I do think that they deserve way more blame or praise than what they're given if a guy works out or fails. So if you had a team, or if you're a young quarterback, who do you trust the most to get the most out of that young quarterback? I think it's Andy Reid. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio. At Ryan Hickey Show as well on Twitter. We'll get your thoughts. And when we come back, replay in sports. Well, we'll wrap up or quickly revisit a topic we started with earlier. Technology has entered sports. It is great for, or not entered, it's been in sports. Technology is great for our life. Terrible in sports. I'll explain why. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back in. Ryan Hickey Show with you until 11 a.m. Eastern. I would try to do the little high-pitched scream there, but I'm sitting near some windows. I got my computer screen in front of me here. I really, at least for the last 10 minutes, trying to get to the end of the show. I don't want to be putting us off the air here, shattering windows, shattering the microphone here, and probably shattering your ears, to be all, frank here. It's Monday. I'm just trying to hopefully make this Monday a little bit more enjoyable, make the transition from the weekend to the weekday. I don't think you really need me trying to sing in a high-pitched tune, at least. I don't think that's going to make your Monday much brighter here on the Worldwide Sports Network, so we won't do it. Let Led Zeppelin do it instead of her. Whoever sings that part. I'm not really sure who sings that, but they do a tremendous job, so I won't try to do their job for them. So we do want to, a few notes here before we do get out of here. It's interesting. So the Monday Morning Quarterback, written by Albert Breer, a lot of great information, great nuggets from the NFL. They put out this morning, as you know, Matthew Stafford traded from the Lions to the Rams, the first big quarterback carousel move that was made of the offseason. Well, apparently, the Rams have, there's a lot of interest, obviously, for Matthew Stafford. The Rams weren't the only one who made a big move. Apparently, now, according to Albert Breer, the Broncos were interested in trying to make an offer for Matthew Stafford. They offered the 9th overall pick in the 2021 draft, which is what the Broncos have, plus a second-round pick. I guess according to now Benjamin Albright, Rams said no. Counter with Drew Lock, and the Broncos said no, which is really interesting. That the Broncos, Drew Lock, 2 years up and down career. I'm not too sold on Drew Lock. I don't think he's going to be actually consistent enough to be a good quarterback. But the Lions not only were interested, Broncos said no, because that's the thing with Matthew. This is the thing about Matthew Stafford that I don't understand if you're at the Broncos. You trade for him, and they have great young weapons, right? Solid running game, solid receivers to throw the ball to, solid offensive line. Like, you put Matthew Stafford in there with the way they've addressed their secondary. Obviously, it's tough because you're in the same division as the Chiefs, but you are, I think, in the conversation and could make some noise in the playoffs heading into 2021. Like, you are, to me, our playoff team if you have Matthew Stafford on that roster as is right now. But it's interesting that at least the Broncos would not include Drew Lock for a trade for two reasons. Number one, like I said, I'm skeptical that he's going to be the guy. I think his career is too up and down. He's too mercurial of a player, I think, to truly have confidence that he can be your franchise quarterback going forward. So with that said, number two, you're not getting Matthew Stafford as like a 1-year player. Like, one, his contract is for 2 years. Two, he's only 32, 33. You're not bringing him in there for a year, then get rid of him, or even 2 years of getting rid of him. If he plays really well, you're going to give him a second contract. You're going to try to keep it going. So by the time Matthew Stafford's initial contract runs out in Denver, Drew Lock's contract is going to run out in Denver. So what are you going to do then? You're going to bench Drew Lock for 2 years, have Matthew Stafford play. Maybe he plays really well. Maybe he doesn't, get you to the playoffs, can't get to the Super Bowl, whatever. You figure, all right, time to move on. Let's go another direction. You're going to re-sign Drew Lock after just benching him for the last 2 years? Can't do that. You're not going to do that. That's interesting that the Broncos, and I don't really get the reason why, that they didn't want to offer Drew Lock in a trade for Matthew Stafford. You really want to keep Drew Lock that bad as a backup quarterback? And there's a chance, honestly, that the Broncos at 9 take a quarterback. I don't think it's out of the question. Depending on who falls, there's a legitimate chance that I think Denver could get a guy. And, maybe they'd be wise to. But I don't think Drew Lock is a guy here going forward for Denver. So if you're going to make a trade for Matthew Stafford, I don't understand why you would not want to include Drew Lock. I'll say this: if Drew Lock was the reason why Denver didn't ultimately pull the trigger and why they eventually lost out to the Rams in the Matthew Stafford sweepstakes, that's bad. I'm sorry. That is bad management. That is really bad management. Could you imagine if the Rams missed out on Matthew Stafford because they didn't want to include Jared Goff in the deal? Like, where's the logic? What sense does that make? This kind of just goes back to my frustration, what we were talking about earlier, with the success and or failure of these draft picks. Again, I made the argument top of the 10 o'clock hour, just about an hour ago, if you want to go back and listen to it, of why we've fallen and we obsess over these quarterbacks in the draft. A lot of them fail way more than they succeed. And part of the thing that doesn't get looked at enough is the team situation that they go to. We think because these guys, now there's only 32 teams, 32 head coaching jobs, 32 general managers, we think these guys know what they're doing. There are plenty of guys that truly don't know what they're doing. We assume, right? And we are built here in the United States to think that this is a meritocracy. You get hired based on your skills. You get hired based on being the best guy for the job, the best candidate for the job. When in fact, as we know, that's not always the case. And in fact, if you're hired for a position, doesn't mean that you are always ready to do so. You are always ready to take on that role, and you'll be really good at it. Again, there's a reason why there's only consistently 7, 8, 9 teams in the NFL that are good every year. Right? If you look at it, the Saints, the Steelers, the Seahawks, there's only a handful of teams that each and every year are consistently in the conversation, each and every year consistently in the playoffs, or at least near the playoffs. You don't see the Saints with Sean Payton drafting in the top 5. You never saw the Steelers drafting in the top 5. Even when they went down, when Big Ben missed all of 2019 except for like a quarter or a game and a half, they still made it to 8-8. Like these organizations that are well run, that know what they're doing, that make sound decisions, consistently succeed one way or another. And there are plenty of organizations that hire people that don't know what they're doing. They don't know. George Patton just was recently hired as the GM taking over for John Elway. We don't know if this was a Patton decision or a John Elway decision. But I'll say this. Again, it highlights the incompetence here in the NFL that really plagues the league more than it really should. But if you're going to have Drew Lock be the reason why you couldn't acquire Matthew Stafford, give yourself a way higher ceiling to chase the playoffs, again, I don't know what you're doing. It doesn't make any sense. If you want Drew Lock, fine. That you can try to believe and want to see more of Drew Lock. I don't think that's the right thing, but if you want one more year to figure out what you got, okay. You can't sell me that Drew Lock is still a quarterback you're interested in, at the same time try to trade for Matthew Stafford, and also at the same time try to have both on the roster. Because guess what? Only one is playing. Don't give me this injury BS either about Matthew Stafford's career and injury-wise, because yes, he's gotten hurt, he's gotten dinged up, he's missed games. But you're not keeping Drew Lock around as a potential backup for injury. I'm sorry. That's just not good football sense. So that's, to me, a massive missed opportunity by the Broncos. Keeping Drew Lock instead of basically going all in for Matthew Stafford. So that will do for at least this edition of the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Network. Appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully you made your Monday a little bit more enjoyable. Congrats again to Hideki Matsuyama, big Masters champion. Hopefully it was fun and exciting for you. Hopefully you enjoy the tournament as well. Enjoy your Monday. Stay safe, stay sane. And we will talk to you as we always do on Thursday right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.